right, and so it looks like we're getting underway. Again, BACCHESS on the left once again. And actually, Mr. FAQ sporting the alternate colored blocks as well for the colorblind features. I think of players that I've seen utilize it. I think I've really only noticed Andrew, to my knowledge, but it is sometimes a little bit refreshing to see the different appearances of Minos, because with games like PPT, it's a little bit more kind of like your own perspective, so it's just whoever is running the event, and generally for we'll just kind of pick standard because there's a lot of very creative skins on the Minos you use. You know, especially when it comes to you know, the like of like Puyos or Sonic emblems, it can get a little bit confusing. But all right, and I think Mr. FAQ is prepping the STSD. Does not go into zone with it, which is a bit interesting. A lot of players tend to have like at least two quick methods of offense going into a zone. I'm surprised that Mr. FAQ didn't immediately use it. Oh, would have needed to use the I spin, but opts to go for the T spin double early in advance. Is able to at least recover a triple with that center well, but I'm not sure if I agree with that decision. I really think that if Mr. FAQ was able to get that Tetris, might have got a little bit more garbage in the overall in the interaction. All right, and BACCHESS, what a beautiful O prop. Actually going to convert into a T-spin triple. Gonna have to do a little bit of skimming in the follow-up, but still, honestly, a really nice method of getting through that relatively dirty stack. A single skim working their way into the center well once again. Through FAQ as well. A little bit more garbage on this stack, so they're probably going to have to get a little bit creative with how they proceed through the rest of this match. Has the dono T-spin into another T-spin. And BACCHESS at the moment is actually taking a whole lot of garbage onto their own board. And although it might be seen as a little bit of a risky play, I think that's more just BACCHESS trying to avoid sending FAQ any clean garbage. All right, the premature 17 from BACCHESS in order to get the perfect clear for the 10-line benefits. That's going to be a hefty obstacle for FAQ, and you can see nearly about 10 to 12 lines. That all clear was what forced the top out for our game one. BACCHESS, wonderfully done. Seems to be picking up a little bit of steam as well, as both players seem to be relatively fast, but not to Albao's levels of efficiency. All right, looks like double into triple there from FAQ. BACCHESS just trying to keep that center well open and has some really nice timed eyepieces to take advantage of that and try and force an early top out. That's a very tall center well for Mr. FAQ, able to barely get out of that situation, but it relied on some very timely eyepieces and very careful tanking, and still being extremely greedy this high up on the board. It is very unlike a lot of which we've seen already. All right, BACCHESS has like a mini center well, also a 4-wide at the same time. I think just kind of some way of getting as much damage out as quickly as possible. A little bit of pole vaulting, trying to find a way. Is there an option for the 20? Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to end at the 44-line Perfectress. All right, Mr. FAQ not quite able to recover that T-spin triple hiding underneath the stack. Oh, and a couple of misdrops as well, finishing off that zone. It's a 40-line Decahexatris, but with those misdrops compounding their ability to not really dig through the garbage, it is a bit of a dire situation all of a sudden. All right, and some very nice timed eyepieces going to allow Mr. FAQ to still stay alive. BACCHESS with the extra time and resources on their hands. Again, full zone meter, so not really in any rush to do anything. It just looks like they're just going to kind of build up over the center well to their heart's content, and actually going to have a bit of a combo on the offensive down stack this time around. Now readjusted that garbage well to be a little bit more fitting of what's underneath the stack. Going to do a couple more skims, access even more garbage in the meantime. And this is definitely going to be a little bit of a pseudo 4-wide. I'm not sure if that's the greatest option. Again, they weren't able to use that clean garbage underneath, so we see the 37 zone out of them. Mr. FAQ not able to get anything more than the Perfectress, but it's 46 lines. And because even though, like, yes, Botches did finish that zone relatively quickly, but it didn't have enough damage behind it to really cover themselves from the zone that Mr. FAQ sent. And now Botches, I would say, enters phase 3 with the deficit overall. Have to rely on a lot of that down stacking that we saw again from them earlier against Bao, but we saw before it was not able to overcome Bao's general offensive pressure. Perhaps that will be different against Mr. FAQ, but his consistency is looking really great out of them. There's the full zone meter from both once again. Botches might be forced to zone a little bit prematurely, and there we can see it, that zone over halfway up the board that forces Botches to essentially have to use the garbage on their board for ammunition, and it's not a great spot to put your board in. Only gets to 25 attack, not even enough to overcome just the regular pressure that Mr. FAQ was sending outside of zone. And so as long as Mr. FAQ is able to send over 20 lines, this is going to be potentially a lethal strike to Botches, and it appears so. That is an excruciatingly large amount of garbage for Botches to deal with. And the misdrop T, I think that's going to be the death sentence. Going to have to get a lot of a lot of lines before that next zone charge, and it's not going to come in time. And you can see Mr. FAQ as well, really playing to speed here, almost 130 drops per minute. I think even faster than a lot of Bao and Botches' matches from earlier. And even though, again, the efficiency and the attack is overall not going to be the same as Bao, just the relentless speed from Mr. FAQ might be enough to just, again, have enough resources to put their board in a better situation leading into phase 3. And for anyone that's watched a lot of TEC, having advantage going into phase 3 is one of the greatest gifts you can receive in this game. All right, both players again building up that full zone meter, trying to work with a little bit of garbage. It is honestly a little bit poetic that both players have the kind of 8-1 or 1-8 stack respectively with that garbage. So it's kind of the worst case scenario for being efficient. And Botcha is going to try and take advantage by doing a little bit of a mini 4 wide towards the tail end of that zone to try and get as much out of it as possible. Gets the 51 Perfectress. Mr. FAQ has cleaned things up really nicely. Has the ability to get a PC if they're a little bit fortunate with this piece RNG. And just to get up to 1945, but Botches is sending out a lot of quick pressure just after that zone. And Mr. FAQ going to have to rely on some speedy down stacking, but not getting the great pieces in time. There's a misdrop. And so Botches half a zone meter of advantage, a couple of misdrops on top as well, but a much better situation. You can see even through that clean garbage, Botches able to find a little bit of combos and a beautiful forecast of that T-spin, the T-spin triple. However, the score has essentially evened out, and Botches, I feel like, is playing a little bit over-aggressive for phase 2. And in a lot of these different situations has just had to rely on some very convenient garbage wells to get a strong phase 2 zone. Not able to kick it into phase 3, so Mr. FAQ is going to get the full phase 2 timer, which again doesn't seem like much, but when you're able to use the extra 2 or 3 seconds at the top of the board to maximize your zone clearing, that's a 47 Perfectress, kicks it into phase 3, and Botches is forced to combo through everything that they've upstacked in order to survive it. And now it is a mere matter of who can essentially even footing going into phase 3. Botches building up a little bit of side well just to try and get that Tetris out. Converting over to a center well, but it's a bit of an awkward there. Gonna have to rely on a couple of T pieces if they want to start getting T spins over that stack. And actually just decides to shift the well entirely over a column in order to make that board a little bit nicer. And Mr. FAQ, not a clean T-spin setup there. They're going to unfortunately have to sacrifice a lot of their board to recover this situation. Again, the line clear delay after misdrops, if you require a lot of single skims to fix a board situation, it can be absolutely devastating. 43 line Deca Hexatress from Botches into the perfect clear is looking for another, and they're going to start just looping a couple more all clears in the process. Not able to find the third, but is still very close to a lot more extremely strong spikes. And Mr. FAQ, even with a very solid defensive zone of their own, is not going to be able to counteract that. BACCHESS picks up game number 3. That's their second. And so again, now that both players have taken a couple of games, it is really emphasizing the gravity of this particular match. Oh, and BACCHESS, I think SDPC, unless I missed something, going straight into double perfect clear, able to get the solve, and that's a quick top out before the second PC. So much damage early, and Mr. FAQ, not enough zone meter to counteract it. Too many misdrops. And when your board is cut off from any skin potential, sometimes you have to eat all of that garbage all at once. And it cannot be a favorable situation. And especially with this set that is extremely close between the two, as we saw Mr. FAQ, I think, took the first round. This is, quick top outs in phase 1 is not a good spot for Mr. FAQ to put themselves in. But just a little bit of a Season 2 inspiration, getting the all-spin into T-spin double. Not going to have as many striking rewards yet, but still a relatively clean situation to put that board in. And Mr. FAQ, this is relying on a lot of skims in order to dig down. And there's also not a lot of efficiency behind those digs, which puts a lot of pressure on Mr. FAQ, just really having to place these pieces fast to get through these situations. And another untimely misdrop. Gonna cover things up. 55 ulti there from BACCHESS. I'm not sure how much garbage Mr. FAQ wants to accept. It's probably gonna have to be a little bit greedy in this situation. Able to find access to the clean garbage. Not able to get another eyepiece in time. However, the clean garbage has been accessed. It's going to get a little bit of a breath of fresh air to FAQ's board. Not a fantastic spot to be in, but still a much better position than they were looking at a mere couple of seconds ago. And honestly, with that amount of clean garbage, has kind of caught up in the zone meter department. All right, a little bit of an awkward board there for BACCHESS. I think going to try and convert it into an STSD to keep the stack clean. I really do like that decision from BACCHESS, trying to get, again, the efficiency has worked out wonderfully for them. As we can see, Mr. FAQ was very capable of keeping up in the speed department. And oh my goodness, just a little bit off of potential ulti or curb twist from BACCHESS. A little bit of a rough stack, but again, going to recover a bit of that efficiency with an STSD on top of these misdrops. Only 29 Decahexatress for Mr. FAQ. Needs to find a really strong combo, and it's going to be strong enough to get another quarter zone, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to win this game out. And there's an eyepiece over the garbage. That's going to be extremely difficult to clear through. And that is going to be the last thing that FAQ was able to do for this Game 5. BACCHESS now on match points. You can see, even though, again, the speed is a little bit lower, those efficient plays, those STSDs over misdrops for BACCHESS, really putting the pressure on Mr. FAQ this round. And it's been a very difficult battle. Ooh, BACCHESS dangerously close to the all clear there. And Mr. FAQ now, I think, just going, I don't know if this is really a last resort decision. I don't want to call it that. But we are seeing the ST and LST sort of stacking right now from Mr. FAQ. It does sacrifice your ability to build up zone meter rather quickly. However, it can be enough to deliver some, an immediate incredible pressure to your opponent. And that has forced BACCHESS to zone a little bit earlier than I think they might have liked. We do see the 61 ulti, excuse me, never mind. That is beautiful efficiency out of BACCHESS. And that will force the zone from Mr. FAQ. Probably going to need a 60 zone of their own, but the T-piece gets stuck, and it's a full board of garbage they have to counteract. I don't know if they have enough resources on their board to deal with this. And although the digs are present, it comes at a significant cost, having to accept small chunks here and there even in phase two, that can cheese up your board exceptionally so. You can see Mr. FAQ trying to use a three-quarter zone, get as much out of this as they possibly can, try to force BACCHESS into a bad spot, and the misdrop right as that zone attack gets sent over might be the lifeline that Mr. FAQ was looking for. And another, oh my goodness, two quick misdrops for BACCHESS' board. Very good digs in the process for the 31 Decahexatris. It's not phase three yet. Oh, and still, Mr. FAQ, one misdrop after another. Misdrop City this round has been. Still no phase three transition. And the last bit of attacks there from BACCHESS, ending the last round before phase three. And a 5-1, very strong showing there from BACCHESS. Currently sitting 1-1. And the pressure right now is on Mr. FAQ. They're essentially going to have to win